The Indian Weavers by Sarojini Naidu. Prepared by Mrs. Sujata Ali. About the poet. Sarojini Naidu, nee Chattopadhyay, was born on 13th February 1879 and died on 2nd March 1949, was an Indian political activist and poet. She was an important figure in India's struggle for independence from colonial rule. Naidu's work as a poet earned her the sobriquet Nightingale of India by Mahatma Gandhi. She was called Bharat Kokila by Rabindranath Tagore. She was appointed the President of the Indian National Congress in 1925 and later became the Governor of United Provinces in 1945, becoming the first woman to hold the office of Governor in the Dominion of India. Naidu's poetry includes both children's poems and others written on more serious themes, including patriotism, romance and tragedy. Published in 1912 in Bazaars of Hyderabad, remains one of her most popular poems. Her first collection of poems, The Golden Threshold, was published in 1905. Moreover, her poem The Gift of India is also noteworthy for its patriotism and the actual environment of the 1915 India. About the poem. The poem Indian Weavers by Sarojini Naidu beautifully depicts the different stages or life cycle of a human being, beginning from childhood and ending with his passing away. The poetess explains the same by directly posing questions to the weavers and getting the answers from them, depicting the different kinds of fabric being woven by them for different occasions. Each garment vividly describes each stage of life. This poem was published in 1971. It is a short poem consisting of 3 stanzas having 4 lines each. The poet talks about 3 types of fabric that the Indian weavers weave at 3 particular times of the day. Through the poem, the poetess highlights the craft and skill of the weavers. In this poem, the poetess tries to portray the only true truths that govern the existence of each being, that life and death. It focuses more on life as we know it, its philosophy, its truth. Stanza 1. Weavers weaving at break of day. Why do you weave a garment so gay? Blue as the wing of the halcyon wild, we weave the robes of a newborn child. Explanation. The stanza opens with active work in progress at daybreak, that is, the early morning hours. The start of a new day has been used as a metaphor for the start of a new life. The poetess is assumed to be noticing the work of the weavers. She notices that the weavers are weaving a beautiful garment which is of a bright blue color and compares it with the beautiful bright color of the wings of a kingfisher. It is a blue bright colored bird. The poetess asks the weavers for whom are they making this beautiful bright colored garment. The weavers reply that the garment is being woven for a newborn child. Thus, first stage of life that is childhood, is usually very happy, gay and carefree, as a small baby or child does not have a single care in the world. It is free from all worldly sorrows and problems. Blue color is associated with the sky and the ocean. It symbolizes serenity and happiness and has a deep calming effect on the soul. Hence, here too, the fabric or garment being woven newly born child is blue in color. Stanza 2. Weavers weaving at fall of night, why do you weave a garment so bright? Like the plumes of a peacock, purple and green, we weave the marriage veils of a queen. Explanation of the stanza. The second stanza's atmosphere changes from morning to night. In this stage, the child has grown and has become a youth, ready to step into the second stage of his life, that is matrimony. Hence, it's natural for the poetess to notice that the garments being woven by the weavers are made of bright colors like the feathers of a peacock, purple and green. The weavers reply that they are busy preparing a beautiful wedding veil of the queen. Our youth suggest the golden time of our lives, wherein we are energetic, attractive and ready to take on all the challenges of life. This is the stage that defines what we make of our lives. We are ready to marry and start our own families. We are full of hope, love, passion and the eagerness to prosper and grow. The color purple is often associated with royalty, power and ambition. It also represents wealth, extravagance, creativity, grandeur, pride and magic. All these are characteristics of traits we possess during our youth. Green, the color of nature. It symbolizes growth, harmony, freshness and fertility. Hence, the garments woven by the weavers in the second stage of life highlights these two colors. Stanza 3. Weavers weaving solemn and still, what do you weave in the moonlight chill? White as a feather and white as a cloud, we weave a dead man's funeral shroud. Explanation of the third stanza. The third stanza depicts the final stage of our lives, and hence the atmosphere too becomes gloomy, somber, serious, and the still calmness envelops the entire surroundings. The poet questions the weavers what they are weaving at the dead of the night, when nature is still and it's very cold and chilly. The weavers have become extraordinarily quiet and calm in their reply. The garment being woven by the weavers is white in color and is compared to a white feather or cloud. Here, the weavers are seen weaving the fabric of a dead man's funeral shroud. This clearly indicates old age and the end of life. The white feather may also symbolize that it has broken off from the wings of a bird and is of no use now, and similarly, the single white cloud floating lonely in the sky might disappear after some time and will become invisible to the naked eye. In the same manner, the passing away of this person too symbolizes the end of his journey. He is now separated and has to enter the other world all alone. The color white represents purity, innocence, peace, and calm. It is the color that represents new beginnings and erases any trace of past actions. Therefore, when a person dies, the body is generally covered with white to signify that the person who has passed away is finally going to rest in peace. Thus, the poem ends with a total finality about the three stages that every individual has to pass through in his or her life. Let us now discuss the figures of speech appearing in each stanza. Stanza 1. Weavers weaving at break of day. The figure of speech here is an alliteration, as there is a repetition of the consonant letter W. The figure of speech is also a metaphor, as indirect comparison is made in break of day and childhood or birth. Why do you weave a garment so gay? There are two figures of speech appearing in this line. First, it is an alliteration, as the consonant letter G is repeated pleasingly. Secondly, it is an interrogation, as a question is posed for emphasis. Blue as the wing of a halcyon wild. The figure of speech appearing in this line is a simile, as there is a direct comparison being made between the blue color fabric being woven by the weavers and the bright blue color of the wing of a halcyon, that is a kingfisher bird. It is also an imagery, as the words blue, wing and halcyon bird are visual images. When we read this line, at that time, we visualize the blue color and the wing of the halcyon bird. Weave the robes of a new-born child. The figure of speech appearing in this line is an alliteration, as the consonant letter W is repeated pleasingly. Stanza 2. Weavers weaving at fall of night. The figure of speech appearing in this line is an alliteration, as there is a repetition of the consonant letter W. It is also a metaphor, as fall of night is indirectly compared to adulthood, meaning second stage of life. Why do you weave a garment so bright? The figure of speech appearing in this line is an interrogation, as a question is asked for greater emphasis. Like the plumes of a peacock, purple and green. The figure of speech appearing in this line is an alliteration, as there is a continuous repetition of the consonant letter P. It is also a simile, as there is a direct comparison being made between the color of the garment being woven by the weavers and the plumes, that is, the feathers of the peacock. It is also an imagery, as the words plumes, peacock, purple and green create a visual image in our minds while reading that sentence. We weave the marriage veils of a queen. The figure of speech appearing in this line is an alliteration, as there is a repetition of the consonant letter W. Stanza 3. Weavers weaving solemn and still. The figures of speech appearing in this line is an alliteration, as there is a repetition of the consonant letter W and S done pleasingly to create a greater poetic effect. What do you weave in the moonlight chill? The figure of speech appearing in this line is a metaphor, as moonlight chill is indirectly compared with death, meaning the third stage of life. White as a feather and white as a cloud. There are three figures of speech appearing in this line. First, it is a simile, as there is a direct comparison being made between the color of the cloth being woven by the weavers and the white color of feather and cloud. It is also an imagery, as here the color white and feather and cloud are visual images which we visualize while reading that particular line. The third figure of speech appearing in this line is a repetition, as there is a repetition of the word white done twice for creating a greater poetic effect. We weave a dead man's funeral shroud. The figure of speech appearing in this line is an as the consonant letter W is pleasingly repeated. Critical appreciation of the poem. Indian Weavers is a poem by the renowned poetess Sarojini Naidu. The poem has been taken from the poet's first volume of poetry, The Golden Threshold, published in 1905. It consists of 3 stanzas or quatrains with 2 rhyming couplets each. This poem has used extensive figures of speech to explain the various stages of life in a person's life. By the means of a metaphor which is used to describe each stage of human life from birth to death, the poetess has beautifully portrayed each stage with vivid and explicit imageries. The poet shows Indian weavers who weave tirelessly at different times, while simultaneously describing the 3 stages of life from birth to death, just as the weavers weave from dawn to night. The poetess chooses 3 different time settings. In the morning, the weavers weave a garment for a newborn child, the queen's marriage veil towards evening, and the dead man's shroud during midnight. The central theme of the poem is the parallelism that the poetess beautifully draws between the three parts of the weaver's workday and the three stages of human life. The poem has been written in iambic tetrameter, and its three stanzas follow the rhyme scheme AA, BB, CC, DD and EE, FF respectively. The language and style used in the poem is simple and lucid, with each stanza beginning with a question to evoke the reader's interest. The poetic devices, alliteration, metaphor, simile, interrogation and repetition have been used extensively to enhance the text's poetic appeal. The imageries such as blue as the wings of a halcyon wild, plumes of a peacock purple and green, and white as a feather and white as a cloud is so visually apt that one cannot stop oneself from conjuring those images to the forefront of one's mind while reading those lines. The contextual meaning of the poem may be the weaver's weaving garments and a shroud for various occasions, but symbolically, the poem represents the cycle of life and death, with the threads and colors being chosen according to moods and occasions. The message being conveyed by the poem is that of perpetual motion of life, where each stage is characterized by its unique emotions, lasts for a while before the next one comes along to take its place. We immediately get engrossed while reading this poem for its multiple use of imagery, color scheme that the poet has chosen for the garments woven by the weaver according to each stage in life of the intended wearer. All in all, it is a simple poem which is easily understood and enjoyed by its readers. This brings us to the end of this presentation. I hope you all have enjoyed watching to my presentation. Thank you very much. Do like and subscribe to my channel.